the first movie we are covering in this episode of Film Talk. This movie is a 2006 movie made by Andrea Arnold. I did end up choosing Andrea Arnold as director slash producer for this show because someone told me she is like Sing Baker, and I do like Sing Baker a lot, and I could see some parallels on these two artists. And I will also add a bit more. I see parallel on what they are trying to do and what they are doing in their art. Andrea Arnold and C. Baker, they both capture very well the kind of story that's slice of life, day to day. They catch that person and they're like, let's talk about your life. And this is exactly what's going on with Red Road, the first movie we are going to cover. Now, I must admit, I'm I will admit that I'm not the biggest fan of Andrea Arnold. I've seen most of the movie I could find that were made by her based on Wikipedia. So if it's not on Wikipedia, I haven't seen it. So yeah, I've seen roughly 6 to 7 movies she made. And yeah, Red Road was just the first one. And I will admit, it's a month after I've seen it. And it's very far, but I remember being somewhat surprised. It was an experience. It was a movie that was entertaining. And some of the scenes were a bit uncomfortable. And I think that was the intent because this is something that keeps coming back in almost every single Andrea Arnold movies. And she's talented because she is good at making you uncomfortable as a viewer. That's a skill and a talent. So with that being said, you are warned. Maybe I will be harsh. Maybe if you haven't seen any of her movies, maybe you shouldn't be watching any of her movies. She's talented, but it's not the kind of artist I would recommend. I remember liking maybe two of her movies among the bunch I've seen. And yeah, these are still very good movie. Don't think any of these movies are bad, but I didn't connect very well with any of them. And spoiler, Red Road is not one of the two I remember fondly of. Outside of I'm not really comfortable with some scenes, that movie only adds one issue for me, being the pacing. The pacing wasn't that amazing, it wasn't that great. Lots of rinse and repeat scenes that don't add much to characters or stories. And if I remember correctly, the runtime is like 2 hour or so. The movie could have been an hour and 20 minutes top. I say really top. I feel like I will repeat myself a lot when covering Andrea Arnold because that's a trend. Or movies they do overstate their welcome. I must admit, the people did well receive that movie based on what I've seen on Metacritic and Wikipedia. It was a well liked movie. And I can see the why. Because again, I didn't really hate that movie. Now, I will say I like what they were trying to do. So they were telling me, or telling the viewer, I should say, the story of someone that get too personal. Someone that watches everyone's lives through a camera. And one time, she finds that criminal. And that criminal becomes her obsession. So she's like, oh, I want to see what he is up to. He is bad news. And guess what? She follows the guy. And what's very interesting as well is on the side as a subplot, She get to have some bedroom fun with some guy she know from somewhere. Was that necessary? I don't think so. Now that leads to one of my issues, not necessarily with that movie, but more like Andrea Arnold obsession and what she does in every day movie she's making. There's a a scene of intimacy. I try to remain PG. I try to remain user friendly. I have nothing against intimacy in movies and all, but if you forced it in every single product you got, I'm wondering why are you so obsessed with that? Why? I don't need to see it. I don't want to see that. There are other places to look at to see that, you know? I don't want it to be injected in every single movie I'm watching. Is it too much asked? Now, this becomes also a part of the plot later on. And yes, we will have some spoilers there in case you were wondering. So that's your warning. So yeah, at least she's an adult. That's all I gotta say. At least she's an adult, right? Because other Andrea Arnold, I will spoil it already. Teens having the fun. So uncomfortable and unwanted. Thank you very much. To go back on track with Red Road, that movie, we follow a stalker for an hour and 53 minutes exactly because I did look at the runtime in between pause and cut and stuff. And she's stalking the guy for like a good an hour to an hour 20 minutes. And this is her like forcing herself into bumping into him, and then she goes at his party to meet the people he's hanging up with or hanging with to chill around, and I don't know how to express it in other ways, but she forced herself into that guy's life, and then in the climax or the third act, I should say, she wants to sleep with him to then rewind to then fake grape and pretend she was assaulted. She is the one that stalked the guy. She is the one that asked for the did or the deed or whatever you call it. The third act is her, oh, she wants to ruin that guy's life, and that guy is angry, and then she feels guilty, and the entire third act is her like feeling like shit after making false accusations. This movie was kind of beyond its time, if I can call it that way. They were in the future with that storyline, which is very interesting. But again, I wasn't a fan of that. Like, what am I watching? She was a stalker that then accused the guy. That's your story. That's your movie. Okay. I think there's something to be said that this movie tried to address the fact that some people just watches too much things and they get involved too much, and it gets personal when you look at other people personal lives, and maybe you have that kind of disconnect when you are a CCTV controller like the girl in that movie is. And I gotta admit a thing again, I kind of already said it, but one of the biggest strengths of that movie is how real the characters are. And this is the strength of Andrea Arnold. She understands people, and or movies are about people more than story. And to some extent, if you like that, great. And I think that's why I didn't end up hating that movie that much. Is it a masterpiece? Almost. But again, I feel like the pacing did hurt my experience, and it's really like the only issue I had. Me not being comfortable with so much useless intimacy. It's not that much an issue I will hold against the movie, because then that would be an issue for so many movies, and I will add more to this. I feel like that's part of her signature, it's part of her touch, it's part of Andrea Arnold identity. Maybe in a vacuum, if I only had seen that movie, I would be like, that scene is bad and you don't need it and you just erase it. But that's Andrea Arnold in a nutshell. So yeah, really the pacing is what hurts the movie the most. And yeah, um I think overall, again, it's a good movie that I like it a lot. I don't know. I liked a lot what they were trying to do. But yeah, now I will sound crazy. I give this movie a 9.7 out of 10 because I only had one issue. And again, I think it's a solid movie. It's a good movie. Do I want to rewatch? Hell no. Is it worth watching? If you want intimacy, if you want to see a movie that feels very human. And yeah, that's Red Road, a movie among many. And I've seen it. Coming next, we got the massive success Fish Tank was. Now, I will admit that this is one of the two Andrea Arnold movie I actually liked. I think the lead was a strong character. She was very interesting. Now, I will have something out of the way already. That movie wants to make you uncomfortable in some scenes, and it's well done, and it's with intent, I'm pretty sure. Because if it wasn't intended, I question Andrea Arnold and kind of person that artist is. So hopefully it was with intent, the uncomfortable moment we got in the movie. Now, be advised, we will have some spoiler ahead as usual. This movie is just like a lot of Andrea Arnold, gives you a teenager character as the main character. And she is messed up, she is screaming at people, she has bad attitude, and that's part of being a teenager. So that leads already to one of the strength that movie has. It depicts very realistic characters. And it's messed up because that story, I said it, spoiler again. That story is about a girl that has a shitty mom that makes trash decision when it comes to men in her life. And that impacts in many ways, bad and good, the main character. The main character wants to be a dancer because the dancers, they look happy and she's not happy. And she looks at them and she wants to be like them. She wants to be part of a group. And what's very weird about that movie, and I think it's with intent, it's how the teenagers are. I don't know how to frame it, but let's try it. They're basically eye candy. Yes, I said it. And I try to remain YouTube friendly because there's a much easier word to mention. to describe exactly what the teenagers are bouncing their butt. Yeah, it's teenagers in revealing clothes or revealing position and moves. And later on, we get to meet Stepfather. And Stepfather, at first, come across as a gentle and kind of nice person until he is a true prick and a disgusting one. But that's just later on. But like early, you can see the impact. That stepfather is seemingly much more supportive to the main character than the mother herself, which is very interesting. But I can see that happening in real life as well. So the characters are chef. They are cool. They are good characters. So the stepfather, he does give the strength to the main character to go dance and do that contest at the very end of the movie. And it's very interesting how he use that strength of good. And I think the main character desire to be like other girl was entertaining and well shown through her dancing like the others. And yeah, it was really cool. And I will skip some books. At some point, stepdad sleep with daughter when he's drunk. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't fun. It lasted too long, but that was part of that character in the story, so it was very important. I won't really hold it against the movie, but again, hopefully they made that scene uncomfortable and that was on purpose. It was rough, I won't lie. And after that scene, the stepdad leaves and that destroys the teenager that seek after him and that goes after him because she felt like she lost her lover, her first love. It's creepy, it's weird, but that's the movie. Yeah, that's the movie. And to go back in time in the movie was really good at telling you rewind how incompetent the mother was. Because the mother was having lots of party with strangers and weird people at home while keeping the kids around. What a role model, folks. My. Okay. We got Worst Mother of the Year prize for the mother of that character. And this is why she has such a bad attitude with most people and most of the thing. And we also get that subplot with some kind of horse, and that's for the character to meet with her love interest that's more normal than the creepy stepfather. And yeah, that movie is just something I didn't expect. It surprised me, it caught me off guard. And it was a very weird, strange, but fun movie to watch. Wow, that sounds weird. But yeah, I enjoyed watching that movie despite the creepy, weird factor, but I hopefully think it's in purpose. But yeah, the stepfather leaves because he knows it's inappropriate, it's disgusting, and the main character doesn't want to let him go, and then she has some kind of payback, or she transfer all of the hatred she has for her former stepdad into the daughter of the former stepdad because spoiler, the stepdad has another family entirely, and he has a daughter, which add even more to the creep factor. What am I talking about? What am I watching? Why did that person suggested Andrea Arnold? We are there, folks. So, to summarize, I will admit, I will be blunt and honest. I have no issues whatsoever. I think there's a creep factor, but that's in purpose. I place a lot of emphasis there because I think that's the reason it's not my favorite movie among all because of the creep factor, but it's still a movie I enjoyed. Do I recommend it? No, because of the creep factor. But if you want to see a weird movie, a creepy movie with creepy moments, watch that. That's a very good movie, and I think it's a strong movie. But again, because of the creep factor, I don't see myself recommending this to anybody. Um, so Fish Tank, 10 out of 10. Uh, the peak of the growth of the teenager is at the end she realizes she doesn't want to dance. She grew up out of dancing. She lost interest. She doesn't want to be like the other girls. And that's kind of cool. I like that. So Fish Tank, good movie with a creep factor. Yeah. That's Andrea Arnold, having underage people sleeping with adults. So apparently it is a remake of Wuthering Heights. Case Cordillero James Olsen. So I haven't seen the original and I'm not interested. I will tell you this. I will sound like a broken record. This movie made me uncomfortable like the other two with a lot of intimacy and display, and just like the previous one, we got underage character involved. What's up with that, Andrea Arnold? I don't get it. Like, at least the kids were not part of the big group to remain YouTube friendly because there was a group intercourse in Fish Tank, which was very weird. At least now we don't get that with Wuthering Heights. Now, Wuthering Heights, I didn't like. It's my least favorite of the Andrea Arnold. I think there's none underneath it. I think it's really the bottom of the barrel for her, in my books at least. And I will say this again, I haven't seen the original. And that one doesn't want me or doesn't tell me I should touch the original one because I didn't like the experience. And even if the original one is great, that one just left that very bad taste. Now, I don't have that many issues, but I didn't find that many things to enjoy. So my first issue would be I feel like in many places the pacing wasn't great. Number two, the characters were forgettable. Number three, more pacing issues. So these are the big highlights, and that movie is like 2 hour, more than probably 2 hour. I will be right back with the exact runtime. 2 hour and 9 minutes for that thing. I feel like you can cut half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. That movie just took forever. It was painful. But yeah, let's get into the few things that were enjoyable. Acting was enjoyable, and the beatdown of the bully was kind of cool. And at the very end, the main character getting the farm was kind of cool. Now, I must address the creep factor of Andrea Arnold. We got more uncomfortable or weird intimacy moments, or I should call it essay this time around. Um, yeah, we got a kid getting played by an adult. Disgusting. I don't know if that was the thing in the original, but that adds to the Andrea factor. I gotta say, it's weird. She's obsessed over that. I feel like I will address that each time because there's always that scene in her movies. I think she has unsolved trauma, or people making movies with her have unsolved trauma, and they just place it in that movie or these movies. Overall, I didn't like that movie at all. It's I almost regret watching it. This is how bad of an experience it was for me. Is the worst thing? I don't think so, but it is what it is, and I don't have a lot more to say. So I will go straight to the grade of that movie, being a 6.5 out of 10. For me, it's low, and I sound crazy, I know, but like usually I give really high score, and a 6.5 is like below average for me. It's not great. It's not something I'd recommend to anybody. Hopefully the original is better than this thing, and I will never know because I'm not interested. With that being said, I will maybe have other people talking about these movies. Maybe not. I don't know. At some point I will edit something and it'll be out. So, yeah.